The most controversial presidential elections in United States history. The history of presidential elections in the United States is replete with instances of intense competition, significant political strife, and occasional controversy. Some elections, however, stand out for the extraordinary levels of dispute they engendered. Among these, the elections of 1824, 1876, 2000, and 2020 are often cited as the most controversial in U.S. history due to their contentious outcomes, legal battles, and enduring impacts on the political landscape. The election of 1824, the corrupt bargain. The presidential election of 1824 was marked by an unprecedented situation where none of the four major candidates, Andrew Jackson, John Quincy Adams, William H. Crawford, and Henry Clay, secured a majority of electoral votes. With no candidate achieving the requisite majority, the decision fell to the House of Representatives, as stipulated by the 12th Amendment. Andrew Jackson had won the plurality of both the popular and electoral votes. Yet the House elected John Quincy Adams as president. The controversy was exacerbated when Adams appointed Henry Clay as his Secretary of State, leading to widespread accusations of a corrupt bargain. Jackson and his supporters claimed that Adams and Clay had struck a deal to ensure Adams's victory in exchange for Clay's appointment. This election not only highlighted flaws in the electoral process, but also sowed deep divisions within the Democratic-Republican Party, ultimately leading to the formation of new political parties. The election of 1876, compromise and disputed votes. The 1876 election between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel J. Tilden was one of the most contentious and disputed in American history. Tilden won the popular vote and had 184 electoral votes, just one shy of the majority needed to win, while Hayes had 165 electoral votes. However, 20 electoral votes from 4 states were disputed due to allegations of electoral fraud and voter suppression. To resolve the impasse, Congress established a bipartisan electoral commission, which, after much negotiation and compromise, awarded all 20 disputed votes to Hayes, giving him the presidency by a margin of 1 electoral vote. This decision came as part of the Compromise of 1877, wherein Democrats agreed to concede the presidency to Hayes in exchange for the withdrawal of federal troops from the South, effectively ending Reconstruction. The resolution of this election had profound and lasting effects on American politics, particularly in the South, where it marked the beginning of an era of disenfranchisement and segregation for African Americans. The election of 2000, Bush vs. Gore. The 2000 presidential election between George W. Bush and Al Gore is perhaps the most infamous modern example of electoral controversy. The outcome hinged on the results in Florida, where the vote count was extraordinarily close. Initial results showed Bush leading by a very narrow margin, triggering an automatic recount under Florida law. The recount process was fraught with issues, including confusing ballot designs, most notably the butterfly ballot, disputes over voter intent, and inconsistent standards for counting votes across different counties. The controversy escalated to the U.S. Supreme Court in the case of Bush versus Gore, where the court's 5-4 decision halted the recount, effectively awarding Florida's electoral votes, and thus the presidency, to Bush. The decision was highly controversial, with critics arguing that it undermined the democratic process and highlighted the vulnerabilities of the Electoral College system. The 2000 election exposed significant issues in the voting process and led to calls for electoral reform, some of which were addressed through the Help America Vote Act of 2002. The election of 2020, misinformation and insurrection. The 2020 presidential election between incumbent President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden was conducted under the extraordinary circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic, leading to unprecedented levels of mail-in voting. Biden won both the popular vote and the Electoral College, but the election was marred by widespread allegations of fraud and irregularities, primarily propagated by Trump and his supporters. Despite numerous recounts, audits, and over 60 court cases that found no evidence of widespread fraud, these claims persisted, fueling significant political polarization and unrest. The controversy culminated in the storming of the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, by supporters of Trump aiming to disrupt the certification of the Electoral College results. This insurrection marked a dramatic and violent peak in the election controversy, leading to a second impeachment of Trump and raising urgent questions about the stability and resilience of American democratic institutions. The 2020 election underscored the dangers of misinformation and the critical need for robust electoral integrity and public trust in democratic processes. Conclusion. The elections of 1824, 1876, 2000, and 2020 each reflect significant moments of controversy in American political history. They underscore the complexities and vulnerabilities inherent in the U.S. electoral system and highlight the critical importance of ensuring transparency, fairness, and public confidence in the democratic process. These elections have left indelible marks on the political landscape, prompting debates over electoral reforms and the enduring quest to balance the will of the people with the mechanisms of representative democracy.